You thought Charlie Kirk's death was tragic, but straightforward? Think again. The truth didn't just slip through the cracks. It was buried until now. Because the one man who saw everything, the driver who dropped Charlie off hours before his body was found, has finally broken his silence, and what he's revealing is chilling. From deleted security footage, blacked out SUVs, and late-night calls no one wants to acknowledge, to a mysterious folder labeled Silver Bridge that vanished with Charlie's last breath. This isn't a theory, it's a confession from the inside. The family's version doesn't match the timeline. The police report has redacted pages. And now, a ghost from the shadows, Charlie's most trusted witness, is speaking. What he saw that night will change everything, because Charlie didn't just die, he knew it was coming. And his final words weren't goodbye. They were a warning. Welcome to the story they didn't want told. Until now, it was supposed to be a normal night. That's what Daniel told himself again and again as he recounted the memory. The way the air smelled in Scottsdale, the dull hum of the SUV's engine, and the low tone of Charlie Kirk's voice in the back seat. It was just another evening picking up Charlie from a private donor dinner, something Daniel had done dozens of times. But this time was different. Charlie wasn't talking. He wasn't tweeting. He wasn't making phone calls. He was just staring at his phone, watching one thread like his life depended on it. His hands trembled, the kind of shake that doesn't come from nerves, but from knowing something's coming, and you can't stop it. "They're gonna call," Charlie mumbled under his breath. "They're gonna ask questions, but you can't answer. No matter what, don't answer." Daniel looked up in the rearview mirror. He half laughed, waiting for the punchline, but Charlie's face was dead serious. His eyes didn't blink. "Promise me." That was the last thing he said out loud. The rest was just silence. Daniel's gut told him to ask what was going on. But drivers don't ask questions. They drive. They drop off. They disappear. That's how it works in the inner circles of conservative royalty. But nothing about this night was following the rules. Charlie told Daniel to take a different route home, not the usual one that ran past his parents' house or the Turning Point USA office. Instead, he asked to be dropped 2 blocks from his home. "No cameras tonight," he said. "Just wait for my call in the morning." Daniel, confused but obedient, pulled into a spot beneath a broken streetlight. Charlie stepped out holding a black folder and a strange metallic keychain that looked like it belonged to a private vault or secure lockbox. That folder would go on to become the centerpiece of the wildest theory about Charlie's death, if it even was a theory. Daniel sat there for a moment after Charlie walked away, watching the door close behind him, something in his gut screaming that this wasn't over. So he drove around the block, one more time, just to be sure. That's when he saw the sedan, parked directly across from Charlie's house, no plates, engine idling. 2 silhouettes sat inside, completely still, no phones, no motion, just watching. He slowed down, hoping they wouldn't notice, but the second he did, the sedan's headlights flashed once, and then it reversed out of sight like it had been waiting for him to move first. That night, Daniel didn't sleep. The unease that had crept into his bones didn't let him. He left his ringer on. At 2:41 a.m., Charlie called 5 times. The final call lasted 32 seconds. There were no voicemails. When Daniel woke up an hour later, it was too late. By the time he arrived back at Charlie's residence, police were already on the scene. But they weren't the first. There were others. Men in dark suits, no badges, no identification, standing around like they owned the property. "We'll take it from here," one of them said before confiscating Daniel's phone. He didn't get it back for 3 weeks. When he did, the entire call log was gone. No record of the 241 call, no messages. Just a blank timeline like that night never happened. But it did, and the more Daniel tried to find someone to talk to, the more he realized no one wanted to hear it. The official report labeled Charlie's death a medical emergency. No details, no autopsy made public, no mention of any surveillance footage because the cameras had been mysteriously turned off. And yet, neighbors claimed they saw flashing lights outside the house just after 3 a.m., emergency lights. But no ambulance was ever recorded in the area during that window. Why? Because it wasn't an emergency response. It was a cleanup, and Daniel knew it. The part that haunts him the most isn't just losing someone he worked for. It's that Charlie knew. He knew something was coming. He said it. He felt it. And everyone ignored the signs. Then came the envelope. A week after the funeral, Daniel found a small unmarked package on his doorstep. Inside was a USB drive. No return address, no note, just a single audio file. Charlie's voice, static at first, then, "If you're hearing this, I messed up. I shouldn't have trusted them. They know about the folder." The folder, the same one Charlie clutched in his hand the last time Daniel saw him. In the background of the recording, there's the faint sound of a door slamming, footsteps, then silence. Daniel tried to send the file to a journalist, but the next morning, corrupted, completely gone. And when he took his laptop to a repair shop, the technician said the system had been remotely wiped, like someone reached in and deleted it without touching the machine. The same white SUV started showing up near Daniel's apartment after that. Not every day. Just enough to remind him he was being watched. Then came the call, a woman's voice, calm, robotic. "You've seen too much, Daniel. Move on." He left the state 48 hours later. Now, for the first time, he's come back, not in person, but through anonymous leaks, voice notes, transcripts, documents with redacted headers. And the folder? It had a label on it, Silverbridge. That name alone sent shockwaves through political insiders. Silverbridge is a shell company tied to offshore political donations, one quietly linked to Turning Point and some of its highest donors. That folder held secrets, and Charlie knew it. He wasn't just worried, he was running out of time. And that's when Daniel finally realized this wasn't about paranoia, this wasn't about mental health, this was about control of a narrative, of an empire, of influence that reached far beyond what most people think a young conservative figure could ever possess. Charlie Kirk wasn't just a rising star. He was holding something that made him a threat, and someone wanted him silent. Daniel never wanted to be part of any conspiracy. He was a driver, nothing more. He kept his head down, followed instructions, stayed invisible. That's what made him valuable to people like Charlie. People who lived in a world where secrets weren't written. They were transported silently in black SUVs and whispered between gated homes. But after Charlie's death, Daniel realized something terrifying. By simply being present that night, he had become a loose end. And loose ends don't stay alive long in circles where power is protected like gold. The more Daniel replayed conversations in his mind, the more the pieces started to shift into place. The way Charlie kept checking the same message thread at dinner. The way he stepped outside during that phone call, pacing like a man facing a deadline he couldn't escape. And most chilling of all, the way Charlie's voice cracked when he said, "Don't answer tomorrow. Whatever happens, don't answer." In the days that followed the funeral, Daniel tried to convince himself it was grief making him paranoid. But then things kept happening that he couldn't brush away as coincidence. First, someone attempted to enter his apartment while he was away at work. Nothing was stolen, but the lock had clear scratch marks, the kind made by a professional tool. Then his neighbor mentioned seeing two men in suits walking around the building asking for him. He didn't know until later that both men had badges that weren't actually from any department. When Daniel called the non-emergency line to ask if investigators had been sent to find him, the operator said no record existed. That was when Daniel's fear turned into certainty. Whoever those men were, they weren't police, and they weren't checking on him. They were tracking him. The first leak hit the internet 3 weeks later. A blurry nighttime clip showing two figures walking toward Charlie's garage around 1:56 a.m. The shadows were grainy, but you could make out Charlie's height and posture. The second figure? Smaller, tense, following close behind. That footage wasn't supposed to exist. It wasn't from Charlie's home cameras. They were shut off. It came from a neighbor's security system, one on a timer that hadn't synced to the outage. That single image sent the entire story spiraling into chaos. Commentators slowed the clip down frame by frame. Some swore they saw Charlie holding his phone up as if recording something. Others claimed the second figure was familiar. A few went as far as alleging it was someone close to him, someone he trusted. That clip wasn't even 10 seconds long, but it changed everything. People wanted answers, but answers weren't coming. Not from the family, not from Turning Point, and certainly not from the investigators who offered the same vague statement. We ask for privacy during this difficult time. That only made the whispers louder. Then came the anonymous account, TPUSA Files, a page that appeared overnight and posted internal screenshots of Turning Point group chats. In one message, someone wrote, "Boss said clear Mason's creds. Has seen too much." Another read, "Delete the garage cam backup before HQ asks." The account vanished within minutes, but the damage was done. Screenshots spread like wildfire, mirrored across hundreds of accounts. Journalists called it the most significant leak in the organization's history. And suddenly, the focus shifted from Charlie's death to the people around him. But the real chaos erupted when Vault Line dropped an audio transcript allegedly recorded the night Charlie died. In the shaky audio, two voices could be heard, one unmistakably Charlie's, the other too muffled to confirm. The words weren't perfectly clear, but fragments stood out like broken glass. "They already know. Don't let them in. It's too late." That recording was the first hard crack in the official story. If Charlie was in distress, why didn't he call emergency services? Why call Daniel instead? Why delete the call logs afterward? And who was he arguing with in that final recording? By this time, Daniel had gone into hiding. He relocated twice, changed phones, avoided public places, but everywhere he went, the same car, a white SUV, appeared within days. He wasn't imagining it. The same model, the same tinted windows, the same faint scrape on the rear bumper. Once, he caught a man inside wearing an earpiece staring straight ahead like a statue. Daniel drove away so fast he ran a red light. At that moment, he understood he wasn't running from the truth. He was running from whoever wanted it buried. Still, the leaks continued. Someone, somewhere, wanted the world to know Charlie's death wasn't clean. The next leak was the most explosive yet. An email thread between Erika and her personal assistant, Rachel Vaughn. The emails detailed transition planning and post-event messaging written less than 2 days after Charlie passed. One line read, "We can't afford empathy to look like guilt." Another referenced the Silverbridge Fund, the same name on the folder Charlie carried into his house that night. The implications were massive. Someone had been preparing for Charlie to be gone before the world even knew he was dead. The public reaction was instant and brutal. Comment sections exploded. Memes surfaced. Podcasts went live for emergency broadcasts. People demanded to know what really happened in that house. Why was the folder missing? Why had the safe been opened by a locksmith, hired under a shell company tied to Erika's family. Why had multiple witnesses disappeared, including Rachel, who suddenly cleared out her condo and vanished days after being questioned? As investigators dodged questions and PR reps issued bland statements, one small piece of evidence slipped through the cracks: a drained lake behind the Kirk property. Police claimed it was maintenance. Locals remembered divers pulling out a heavy black case before news crews arrived. No one reported it. No one acknowledged it. No one explained it. Except Daniel. He remembered Charlie's final warning before stepping out of the SUV. If anything happens, tell them to look in the lake. That wasn't paranoia. That was a clue. And now the world was finally listening. Daniel thought the chaos had reached its peak, but that was before the emails. That was before the text messages. Before Vaultline published a chilling leak that left the internet paralyzed with speculation. A dump of over 70 screenshots allegedly taken from internal group chats at Turning Point, one of which included a now infamous line: "Clear Mason's creds. Has seen too much." It was the first time the name Mason had surfaced publicly, and it confirmed what only a few insiders already knew: that Charlie Kirk's longtime personal bodyguard had raised red flags in the days leading up to the night he died. The same bodyguard who vanished without a trace the morning after. According to sources close to the organization, Mason was known for being protective, meticulous, and loyal almost to a fault. But in the weeks before Charlie's death, something had shifted. Staffers recalled whispered arguments, closed-door meetings, and increased security measures that didn't make sense at the time. Now, in hindsight, every move looked like a premonition. The files confirmed what many had suspected. Mason wasn't just a bodyguard. He was a witness, possibly the only person outside the family who knew what really went down in those final hours. And that made him dangerous. The more people combed through the leaks, the clearer the narrative became. The message threads weren't just panicked cleanup. They were cold, calculated strategy. One coordinator wrote, "Delete the garage cam backup before HQ asks." Another replied, "Already done. Archive 2 being handled by Rachel." Rachel Vaughn, Erika's longtime assistant, the same woman who vanished after being confronted by a reporter. The documents revealed a chain of activity so tight, so fast. It was clear these people weren't reacting. They were executing a plan built on the assumption that the public would never connect the dots. But they were wrong. Shortly after the Vaultline drops, new footage surfaced on a burner account labeled Garage Angle Alt Cut. It showed the same Kirk driveway, same timestamp, 1:56 a.m., but from a different vantage point. This angle had never been shared before. It wasn't from the house across the street. It was from a hidden camera mounted inside the Kirk garage itself. The shaky night vision footage captured a figure entering the garage, followed seconds later by another. This time, there was audio, and this time, there was no mistaking the voices. Charlie's voice came through first. "You shouldn't be here." Then a woman's, low and cold. "I warned you." What happened next sent shockwaves through every platform. A loud bang, scuffling, then silence, then the unmistakable clink of keys. The video ended abruptly, as if deliberately cut. But the point was made. This wasn't a suicide. This was something else entirely. Within hours, the footage had been stripped from all major platforms: YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, even private cloud shares, wiped under content violations. But it was too late. Mirrors existed everywhere. Telegram channels posted frame-by-frame breakdowns. Twitter X accounts exploded with new theories. Was the woman Erika? Was someone else there too? Could that second shadow be Mason? Commentators couldn't agree on identities, but the growing consensus was that Charlie Kirk didn't die alone. And if that was true, the entire narrative needed rewriting. Vaultline followed up with the next bombshell, a 2-minute audio clip sent via encrypted email, time-stamped 48 hours before Charlie's death. The voice was Mason's. In the message, he said, "If this goes the way I think it will, you need to watch the lake, watch the cameras, watch her. You know who I mean." The implication was unmistakable. Mason believed something was coming. He didn't say the word murder. He didn't have to. His tone said everything. The voice memo was raw, unedited, and ended with one haunting sentence: "They'll bury him, and then they'll bury me." People were done with theories. Now they wanted names. Who was they? Who erased the footage? Who intercepted Rachel Vaughn's mail? Who coordinated the post-death donor calls Erika led only hours after Charlie was declared dead? Every new detail felt like a breadcrumb, leading to something darker than even Vaultline expected. And then the anonymous whistleblower struck again. An unmarked envelope sent to a journalist known for exposing political scandals contained a 14-page document marked Silver Bridge Internal Restricted Access. This wasn't speculation. It was strategy, memos, talking points, chain of command lists. One email instructed staff to prepare messaging in the event of sudden leadership change. The date? 2 weeks before Charlie's death. It became clear this wasn't just a tragedy, it was a handover, and the person positioned to inherit everything, his position, his following, his political clout, was Erika. The same Erika who, according to Rachel's final texts, had told her, "Compassion isn't a currency, timing is." Public sympathy, once flowing in Erika's favor, turned to venom overnight. Her social media accounts were spammed. Brand deals crumbled. Conservative influencers started publicly distancing themselves. But she didn't respond, not directly. Instead, a new Instagram account popped up. Eoric Faith. Gone was the political branding. In its place, glossy photos of yoga poses, mountain views, and cryptic captions. Peace is louder than chaos. God knows the truth. But viewers weren't buying it. Not anymore. Not when Erika's watch in a new photo matched the one she wore in the garage clip just minutes before the fatal struggle. Then came the report from the family themselves. Until now, Charlie's parents had remained silent, but the leaked draft statement was brief and brutal. "We've seen enough to know our son didn't die in peace." That sentence shattered the last shred of public restraint. Now, even Charlie's own blood believed the narrative was fake. And for every story Vaultline published, the backlash against Erika grew louder. Podcasts dubbed her the Widow CEO. Memes labeled her the face of succession. One clip of her talking about faith was overlaid with Charlie's voice from the leaked memo. "Watch her, you know who I mean." Still, no arrests were made, no formal charges, no subpoenas, just whispers, online fury, and one unanswered question: where was Mason? Every thread led back to him. Every hint of what Charlie feared, every piece of missing footage. If Mason had the final proof, the CK drive, the world needed him now more than ever. And right when it seemed hope was gone, a burner account posted a photo, a man in a hoodie standing at the edge of a candlelit vigil for Charlie. You couldn't see his face, but the stance, the posture, the angle of the camera in his hand, it matched Mason's old training photos. It wasn't proof, but it was a pulse, a signal, a message. The ghost was watching. And he wasn't done. The world had already flipped upside down. Mason was no longer just a ghost in the margins. He was now the main character of a story someone had worked desperately to erase. As whispers turned into roars, new footage was dropped. This time, not by Vaultline, but through a hidden link embedded in a QR code someone taped to a lamppost outside the TPUSA headquarters. The link led to a private video hosting site. No title, no description, just a video thumbnail, black screen, white text, last light. Viewers held their breath as the footage began. It opened inside what looked like a private home office. The camera was shaky, handheld, and breathing could be heard in the background. The figure in the shot, Mason, stood in front of a filing cabinet. His voice was calm, low, every word deliberate. They want you to believe it was natural, that he panicked, that the cameras just failed. But none of that's true. This, he said, holding up a silver USB drive, is the real insurance policy. He didn't reveal what was on it, just that it contained full footage, unedited audio, and comms logs from the final 48 hours. But then he added a chilling detail. I didn't make a copy. If you're seeing this, I've already sent it to 5 journalists, none of whom know they have it. The room went black. Just a flash of coordinates followed by the words, "When it drops, they burn." That phrase became the anthem of the internet. When it drops, they burn, trended globally. Graffiti showed up in DC, Phoenix, and Dallas with those same words. Reddit users tried decoding the coordinates, eventually tracing them to an abandoned server facility in Sedona, Arizona, coincidentally close to where Erika's rebrand had quietly retreated to. Every clue pointed to one conclusion. The CK drive was real. Mason had planted it like a ticking truth bomb, waiting to be found. Then, seemingly out of nowhere, Rachel Vaughn reappeared. Not on Instagram, not on TikTok, but in a leaked voice memo, a private message sent to an unknown contact. She was crying, her words choppy, scared. "I didn't know it would go this far," she said. "I thought we were just cleaning things up. But they lied to me. She lied to me." When the contact asked her to clarify who she was, Rachel whispered, "Erika, she planned this for months. It was never about grief. It was about control." She said Charlie was too soft, that he wasn't built to lead a war. The message cut off with a knock at the door, followed by silence. Hours later, Rachel's apartment in downtown Scottsdale was cleared out again, lease canceled, bank account closed, digital footprint scrubbed. Her neighbors reported seeing a group of men in suits wheeling out boxes at 3 a.m. Vaultline called it what it was, extraction. But by then, the internet had already turned Rachel into another symbol, another name on the list of those who knew too much. People weren't asking if the Kirk story was true anymore. They were asking how deep it went and who else was compromised. In a shocking move, TPUSA's board held a private emergency session. Leaked minutes from that meeting revealed they had voted 5-2 to suspend Erika indefinitely pending a full third-party investigation. She never responded directly, but the next day, she posted a cryptic story to her Oryx Faith account, a quote that read, "Sometimes God asks you to walk through fire to prove who's really fireproof." Below it, just a burning rose emoji. But no one was impressed. Sponsors were leaving in waves. Political allies were ghosting her. Every attempt at damage control only dug her deeper. The internet had turned on her, and worse, Charlie's parents had too. In an exclusive interview aired on late-night cable, Charlie's father choked back tears as he admitted, "We were told not to ask questions. We trusted the process. We shouldn't have." His mother added, "We don't believe Charlie took his life, and we will not rest until we know exactly what happened in that house." Their statement shattered any remaining narrative of accidental death. If even his parents were calling out the official version, how could anyone still believe it? Then came the final blow. A journalist known only as Icarus dropped a 4-part exposé titled The Kirk Files. It was compiled from scattered leaks, audio clips, and fragments of the infamous CK drive. And in its final section, it included a partial transcript of the final meeting video file, the same file briefly seen in the Drive 2 clip. The transcript included voices of multiple men, political donors, and a female voice believed to be Erika. The most damning line? Charlie's influence is a liability. We either reposition or replace. Tonight's our only shot. That was it. Game over. The silence exploded into outrage. Politicians scrambled to distance themselves. Private donors yanked millions from Turning Point's war chest. Podcasts that once praised Erika now posted apology episodes. Conspiracy theorists were suddenly vindicated, and in a final poetic twist, someone spray-painted across the TPUSA headquarters windows in bold red letters, "He died for your power." But Mason didn't re-emerge. He didn't post a follow-up. He didn't leak another file. He stayed in the shadows, letting the truth speak for itself. And that became the ultimate twist. The man paid to be invisible became the loudest voice in the room by saying almost nothing at all. The bodyguard who saw too much didn't try to clear his name or cash in. He just gave the world a flashlight and let them see what they were never meant to. So now we're here. No resolution, no arrests, just broken reputations, vanished witnesses, and a USB drive that might still be buried in a lake or uploaded by someone brave enough to click send. But one thing's clear, Charlie Kirk's death wasn't a chapter. It was a warning. That silence has a price. That truth never stays buried forever. And that when you try to rewrite history in real time, there's always someone with a backup. Because Mason didn't vanish. He documented. And that drive, it's still out there, waiting, watching, whispering. If you've made it this far, you already know this isn't just a conspiracy. It's a war over truth, silence, and power. Charlie Kirk's story isn't finished. It's still being written by whistleblowers in hiding, by files that refuse to stay deleted, and by viewers like you who refuse to look away. So now, we're turning it over to you. What do you think really happened that night? Was Charlie silenced for what he uncovered? Was Erika pulling strings from day one? Or is there someone else, someone even higher, still watching from the shadows? Drop your wildest theories, your receipts, your clues, right now in the comments. We're reading every single one. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications because Vault Line isn't done. We're not backing down. Not until every name is exposed, every lie unraveled, and every hidden drive is finally unlocked. Because silence, not here, not now, not ever.